Hey, relax! Relax! I know I make outrageous videos sometimes, but this is not going to be that. I am not taking the bait. But there was an article published about this by Mark Spector on Sportsnet, which is why we are making this video. I did not want to go out there and do it, but now that it's being talked about on one of the major sports outlets, it's like, okay, this is a conversation now. People are going to see this article, people are going to read it, and it gives us an opportunity to go into a bigger exploration as to the refereeing in the Vancouver Canucks and Edmonton Oilers series. Now, we already did make a video earlier this afternoon talking about Nikita Zadorov and some of the comments that he had made. That video had some extra things talking about the refereeing and the missed calls, Connor McDavid, Quinn, Hughes, some of the other notable non-calls that happened in Game 2 as well. But Vancouver fans can get pretty obnoxious at times, and while I acknowledge that the Canucks fans are never going to be the most peachy, clean, rational ones to deal with, yesterday's conversation about the refereeing was one that I think was worth having, just because it was like, yeah, some of these non-calls were so egregious, some of these events and these non-calls were very impactful in terms of how the game was played and the momentum, and had things gone the right way, we might have been looking at a completely different result in the hockey game. While I don't discredit that there is value in talking about it, saying, yeah, no, the referees did a pretty crappy job, I personally don't like to blame the refs too much. I think I've only really had one rant on this YouTube channel that was about the referees. I did say in yesterday's video as well that even though the calls were not made, the Canucks still played worse than the Oilers, and the better team ended up winning that game in overtime, so I'm personally not feeling too choked about it. But today we had ourselves an article, and by today I mean like literally half an hour ago, published by Mark Spector on Sportsnet.ca. The title reads this: "Calm down, there is no referees conspiracy favoring the Oilers over the Canucks." Okay. That's the direction we're going down now, aren't we? It wasn't even really talked about much on the TV broadcast. Sure, people did have their tweets and have their comments about these non-calls, but now there's an article very specifically talking about the idea of conspiracy. The article opens up by talking about the statue of Roger Neilson, which is a pretty long-winded intro, but it does go out there and is sort of relevant. I mean, it's a really big funnel going into the main meat and potatoes of the Oilers and Canucks series. Take a look at this, eh? Institutionalized surrender. People know what waving a white towel stands for, don't they? This is the culture that the Canucks players must overcome. This is why nary press conference passes here without poor coach Rick Tocchet being asked to comment on the officiating. Why players are peppered with questions about calls and non-calls. Why social media is as stocked with posts about officiating as it is with love for the Canucks or shot at Nashville fans in round 1 or Oilers fans in round 2. It's the culture, and dare we say, a culture that has produced a 50-year team without a Stanley Cup banner in its rafters. Let's be clear, this isn't in the fans, not one bit. Fans in every city see the game through goggles tinted to the color of their home team. They're supposed to be irate when a high stick on Quinn Hughes gets missed, and oblivious to the 6 skaters on the ice seconds before a Vancouver goal. Fans have every right to cite Connor McDavid's alleged embellishment, but gloss over the giant oak tree that is Nikita Zadorov, toppled by a love tap from Warren Foegele, or the knee taken by Quinn Hughes. Canucks fans, God bless them. And this is kind of the attitude that is there in the article. I mean, you can kind of see what Spector is going for, right? He's talking about the passionate Vancouver fans and how it's human nature for a fan of a sports team to disregard all the bad stuff that his own team did and focus only on what the opponents did instead. Yeah, Quinn Hughes got high-sticked, but Nikita Zadorov did embellish. Stuff like that. We did talk about this in the prior video. But again, this editorial seems to be sort of like, I don't know, Mark Spector going out there and responding to all the conspiracy talk. He talks about the Kelly Sutherland conversation because for some reason the Vancouver Canucks play very poorly whenever it is that he is officiating. And I get it, you know, it's easy to connect the dots in a certain way, but at the same time, I will bring up the principle that it's a lot easier to see things when you're looking for them versus when you're just looking at things with neutral glasses or with no predetermined cognitions beforehand. It's a lot easier to feel like Kelly Sutherland is the Vancouver Devil when you acknowledge that, hey, he has this record, this and that. When you're just watching the games, with none of that in the back of your mind, it's a lot easier to let it pass and just look at the game more objectively. And I'd say objectively, the Vancouver Canucks were outplayed in Game 2. It's just, who knows what would have happened had those calls actually been made. for both teams even. Now, to Spector's credit, he does go out there and talk some good about the Vancouver Canucks. He talks about the Canucks fans and how they are rabid, hockey-loving Canadians. But then he goes out there and says this, but in hockey, they say that if you arrive at the rink already wondering about the officiating, you're already halfway to being beaten. And I guarantee you, Tocchet and the Canucks are not willing participants in this. Victims perhaps, but not willing ones. Let the record show the Vancouver Canucks players and coaches are neither whining nor waving any white towels in this city. JT Miller's post-game address Friday was accountable on a Hank and Danny Sedin level. Hughes too. Outstanding. I don't hear any references to officiating from any Canucks player or coach until they are asked about it by the media. It is not their fault, this fixation. So where does it come from? How does the Kelly Sutherland hates us theme that fans lap up but accredited media should laugh off get legitimate traction here? Honestly, it is all just Vancouver media and social media, and I think part of it is the inner cynicism that Vancouver hockey fans show towards their own hockey team, and honestly, their own existence at times as well. I don't want to talk too much about the generation of society as a whole, where self-deprecating jokes and humor like that, everybody's against me, comments and clips like, okay, I guess I'll just go die now, like, stuff like that has been prevalent in our online conversational discourse nowadays. But for Vancouver fans that have been so used to this team being terrible, and who have kind of grown up alongside of this team being bad, exhibiting those same kinds of conversations online, it's a lot easier for random grab bag ideas like, oh yeah, the referees hate us, Kelly Sutherland hates us, we're gonna lose because of the refereeing, officials. Like, these kinds of things end up circulating a lot. And it's not necessarily like, oh, fans believe it, it's more so just kind of memes, I feel. Like, I don't think anybody is really super honestly believing that Ian Cole is a secret Edmonton Oilers sleeper agent. It's just a meme. Same thing you could say about the officiating here. I don't know if any rational Canucks fan, if you had an honest conversation about them that was off social media, if you asked them, hey, do you think there's a conspiracy against the Canucks with the officials? I don't know if anybody would actually say yes. Like, sure, there are some questionable on-calls, but there's a difference there. It's not entirely doom and gloom, everybody's out to get me type stuff going on here. And I think that seems to be one of the divides here between Canucks fans, Canucks media, and media outside Vancouver looking inwards trying to see what Canucks fans are talking about. Because we're kind of crazy, not gonna lie. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about this entire referee conspiracy thing about the Canucks and the Oilers. I know it's kind of a clickbaity thing, but you know, I'm sick. And cough syrup ain't cheap nowadays. Plus, I felt like this was a strong enough topic where I was like, yeah, no, Mark Spector, I feel like there's a pretty big disconnect between what he's seeing and what Canucks fans are actually feeling and meaning, so that's kind of why I wanted to make this video. You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as to the idea of there being some sort of a conspiracy. And my question to you is, if you're a Vancouver Canucks fan, which I'm gonna guess you are because the majority of my fan base is Vancouver-based, do you honestly, full-heartedly, 100%, no jokes about it, believe that there is some sort of a conspiracy or that Vancouver players are getting screwed over intentionally by the referees? Or is this just kind of a joke? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.